All right, well, we're here again with Sean, and we're talking through, as we drive along, we're talking through small group leadership issues, and this is lesson 2. So last week we talked about the group environment. You did a good job painting a picture for us. So Sean, why don't you tell us about the leader's commitment, like for a small group leader who's watching this, trying to understand what's the expectation on me as a small group leader? What would you say to that?
I would say you're making a commitment to each individual's life that comes into your small group. It's more than just a Wednesday night thing or whichever night you hold your group. It's a time where you pray consistently for your members, you follow up with your members, and you take time to spend with your members outside of group. Okay,
so your Wednesday night group, your weekly commitment isn't just an hour and a half on a Wednesday night then?
No, absolutely not. It's much more than that.
Okay, so you're sometimes you're getting with a guy, obviously not a woman. Mm-hmm. You're not going to meet with a woman because you're a guy. Maybe your wife would though?
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe make a phone call for follow-up or sit down for coffee?
Yes.
And you are too?
Yeah, absolutely. Both Kaylee and I, the gals will go out to coffee, all the time, and have a lot of connections with the men within our group, and just pour into them, not just on Wednesdays, but all the time.
All right, now when you're doing that, so let's say that you got a guy, let's call him Joe. So you got Joe in your group, but you recognize that he's got a need that you're maybe not going to address. Maybe you need to talk through a marital issue with him outside of small group because maybe it's not appropriate for small group. So are you're gonna call him later on, say, hey, let's get together? And do you try to find a topic in the library to help structure and frame your conversation?
Yes, absolutely. First thing is I definitely build the trust in the relationship to where we can get together one-on-one, and then without a doubt use the resources so that he knows where the conversation's going, and you can kind of format how that's going to occur.
So the same flex method that we talked about last week that you use in your small group, you're in essence you're doing the exact same thing as you're going one-on-one. What we in our resources we call that mentoring. You're pretty much doing the same thing, different topic.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's helpful. I think for small group leaders and pastors watching this, really bear that in mind. I think that's why using the tools and the methodology is so important, because it really does make ministry outside of small group more possible. Not just for you, Sean, but also then why don't you speak to kind of how you and your wife model being parents, because parents are mentors too. Mm-hmm. So explain that to us. I know you've shared with me about how your wife uses those resources with your kids.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways to grow in your mentoring abilities is to be doing it at home with your kids. And so my wife will go through the kids sermon link videos just on the way to school. It's a 10-minute drive to school, and it's the perfect time to work through those videos and questions with them. And so that's how we use the materials with our kids.
And so then you as a small group leader, part of your job is to model that for the parents who come to your small group. So in essence, you're teaching them to be small group leaders at home.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a major part of the small group leaders' commitment, especially for small group leaders who have kids at home and teens at home and that sort of thing. You're not just trying to lead a Bible study. You're showing someone how to pursue God wholeheartedly in every area, in every arena of your life. All right, so I know there's one more thing that people are going to want us to cover, and that is some of the small group leaders or potential small group leaders are thinking, what Sean does is way too much. Like, I couldn't even imagine doing that. That sounds way, way intimidating. So talk about this idea of a handoff, making a handoff for people.
You bet. Well, it is impossible to do it on your own, and so you've got to be able to hand off relationships within the group to other members. And so one thing we do in our group is we look for members who just have natural relationships with other members in the group. So couples, you almost play matchmaker and try and set them up so that they can mentor with one another and show them, you don't just go out and go to coffee, but go and use the resources the way that we do in group or the way we do at home. And so by doing that, you don't burn yourself out with trying to meet with somebody 7 days a week.
Yeah, I think that's huge for pastors and leaders watching this series. Just know that it's not all on Sean to shepherd every single person in his small group. He's going to do that with a few of them, but really part of his role, like a pastor's role, is to connect quality people with other people, encourage that mentoring outside of group to be happening, so that you don't get stressed out, and so that you don't have to shepherd everybody in the group, but really your group is cared for. And again, the tools make all of that possible. So use those tools. That's why making a commitment to the tools and the method we think is so important, because it just really simplifies your definitions. Everybody knows what we mean by that. There's so much there for any topic, for any situation that comes up in life. And you really, Sean, you really can empower people to go out and go full circle, what we talk about in Foundations, which is not just become someone who tries to go to Bible study, but really is living this out and helping other people live it out in their world as well. All right, well, good job, Sean. In the last lesson, we're going to talk about building your group, so we'll see you then.